How do you deal with your social anxiety? I'm definitely an introvert. I'm happiest when alone with a good book/game/movie, or when hanging out with one or two very good friends. After any social situation I'm drained, exhausted, and need plenty of alone time to recharge. In social situations, especially when they involve strangers, I feel awkward, self-conscious, and I find myself really hoping that the people around me find me interesting and likable. I mask most of this with false confidence. I act like I'm cool, calm, collected, informed, comfortable, and having a great time. I put a bold lie of a smile on my face and act like I'm having a great time. I seek out people and initiate conversations. I ask questions, proffer opinions, tell jokes, and laugh freely. Very quickly the fake confidence is no longer necessary because I truly feel comfortable and confident. The other big aspect is that, while I hope people like me and want them to find me interesting/attractive/funny/etc, I refuse to change myself to fit in. There is only one other person in the world, besides myself, who I will change for. But so far my wife hasn't asked that of me, since I'm happy with who I am and don't want to change. I decided that it's pointless to be embarrassed by who I am. If people like me, and I hope they do, that's great. If they don't, oh well. The things that people think about me do not affect me. Embarrassment is just anxiety about people's thoughts, and since their thoughts cannot harm me, there is no reason to be embarrassed. Be the person you would like to meet. Think about it for a second. You're in a social environment. Now imagine someone approaching you and sparking up a conversation. They're smiling. They're confident. They're showing interest. They're being welcoming. Now try to do those things you imagine. I understand it is easier said than done, but just try. In reality, I'm really shy and quiet. People take this as uninterested and I don't blame them, because I give them absolutely no reason to continue talking lol. But think about it. When you're in a conversation, you want to feel encouraged and comfortable enough to keep talking, you know? So ask yourself, would I approach me at party? If not, figure out what you can work on to change that. I get extremely nervous when I'm in places that are crowded, the metro, elevators, lines, etc. Or when I'm forced to be around people that are sick and don't cover their mouths. It really interferes with my life. I scurry through crowds as quickly as possible and try to avoid being in situations where people can cough or sneeze on me. What do you recommend I do? For crowded areas, anxiety has a cycle that goes something like stimuli from your senses, thoughts, brain chemicals, actions. There's a proper one, but this is like an abridged version I can remember easily. What you need to do is break the cycle of anxiety in some way. My main trigger is changes in lighting. So I have a couple of ways of dealing with the stimuli. I wear hats with a brim, or tinted glasses or a hood, to try to keep a constant lighting level. If that doesn't work, I need to start to intercept the thoughts of anxiety. I find the easiest way me to do this is to focus on something to ground me. My attacks can cause hallucinations. I focus on my breathing. I get the person I'm with to just talk at me until I tell them to stop. So I really focus on what they are saying. I also wear candy style bracelets or elastic bands on my wrist, and the feel of them again helps me break the anxious thought cycle. Some people mutter a mantra to themselves or something, but I don't find that works overly well for me. I have tried to stay away from medication until now, but that is also an option. Finally, just go and do something else, preferably something you need to really concentrate on. My only other advice would be to remember that having phobias or panic attacks doesn't make you a weak person. Tell people if you are about to have a panic attack. Calmly explain what you need them to do, even if that's just to keep an eye on you and make sure you don't get hurt. Hope this helps someone. I've been struggling with panic attacks for the past 2 years, and I'm finally starting to get a grip of them. I was diagnosed with SAD at a young age. I have tried everything to deal with it. Therapy, medication, hypnosis, even forcing myself into situations where I'm extremely uncomfortable. I haven't found relief. I'm currently on medications for depression, and I do take an anti-anxiety drug on a sporadic basis when I feel I need it. I feel horribly lost. alone, and helpless. It's crippling. I do everything my therapist tells me. So for now, I deal with it day by day, hour by hour. If I feel that panic coming on, I get myself out of the situation as fast as possible. If that isn't an option, I take my anxiety pill and hope it helps. SAD is real. It's scary and is hard to overcome. I'm 28 years old and I can't even go to the grocery store by myself without going into a full-on panic. Thanks for bringing more awareness to this. I don't have social anxiety, but I used to work with people who had it. One little trick I learned from anxiety counseling was to ask people to pay attention to their posture. Anxiety and stress is positively correlated with cortisol level in the brain. Psychologists have found simply adopting a power pose such as straightening your back and raising your chin, or when you're sitting, your legs up and your hands behind your heads, reduces cortisol level and increases testosterone. The idea is to work backwards from the stress, which in turn alleviates the anxiety. I know that faking confidence helps many, but it's just never worked for me. The only thing that's made me feel better is to be really open about being anxious. When relevant, I say things like I'm not so good with big groups of people, or I'm nervous not knowing anyone. The idea of this used to make me feel really embarrassed, but actually doing it, I found that most people relate, even if it's to a lesser degree. This helps people understand why I'm being awkward or quiet, and then no one thinks I'm rude. It really helps to understand your anxiety and put it into words. It seems silly, but I never used to know how to say I'm sorry. There's a lot of new people, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. This obviously doesn't work in brief interactions with strangers. For those situations, I just remind myself that most small talk and interactions with customers etc. are quickly forgotten. This is a daily fight for me. I've seen multiple people about it, but the cost to see those people does not reflect enough in my overall improvement for me to continue it. Also, it is very hard to see a doctor that is willing to prescribe the drugs that will help you out. There are a couple of things that have helped me when speaking to girls. Ask questions. Girls love to answer questions. It is in their nature. Just make sure the questions deal with something they are interested in. Also, I have tried to change my mindset. My old therapist used to describe my thoughts as a movie. He said I kept recalling bad social interactions that would influence my current actions. He compared these bad social reactions to scenes in a movie. Why would you let one bad scene of a movie influence another scene of a completely new movie? I try to forget the bad things that have happened to me, but I will admit it isn't easy. When speaking to girls, ask questions. Girls love to answer questions. It is in their nature. Just make sure the questions deal with something they are interested in. I'd argue that this applies to everyone, not just girls. The movie analogy is really good though. I'm definitely gonna remember that one. Men, grow a beard. A big, full, bushy beard. It will make others think that you are more masculine and therefore more confident, and by their sheepish reactions to your presence will help you feel more in control. Also, for yourself, the coverage of your face will help you feel less exposed to the world. Also, as the beard becomes more grand, it will take on a persona all its own, and there will never be a shortage of conversations started by other people asking you about it. Ladies, you're on your own here. #1. Realize that other people really aren't thinking about you that much. Everyone is too busy thinking about themselves to worry about what you are doing. I never really realized how true this is until I was planning my wedding and discovered that some of my guests wanted to make my wedding about them. Seriously, you cannot believe how self-centered many people in this world are. #2. Take very small risks each day. Like try saying hi to a stranger and just see what happens. Maybe it will go well. Maybe it won't, but either way, it's not a big deal, because you'll never see that person again. Once you've had a few successes, though, it will help your confidence and make it easier to build up to bigger risks. #3. Make up a script ahead of time. Think of some standard small talk things you can say when there is an awkward silence. Plan out what you need to say before you make a phone call. It really helps to just not have to think up stuff on the spot. #4. If you can handle it, consider joining an improv class. Being in an improv class is a good way to get over your inhibitions. Faking confidence to yourself really helps, and so does alcohol. I'm still trying to work these issues out, but attempting to address each concern systematically is the best way to deal with this kind of stress without it overwhelming you. For me, that's 1. My worries about work. 2. My friends. 3. Relationships. 4. My appearance. I feel I'm reasonably good looking, but treating myself like I am is another thing entirely. At least then you feel there's some kind of order in place. What works for me is remembering to breathe. Remember to think. It's okay not to be perfect. Understand that other people just want to know what the you inside has to say. Likely, social anxiety was caused by others being harsh when you interacted with them in your past. But once you're out of high school, understand many people get more mature. It also helps to be really good at something, so you can get confidence from that. Ultimately, anxiety is in your mind. I watched a TED Talk the other day from a collection that's on Amazon Prime. I think it was Amazon, but it could be Netflix. Close bracket. This woman's whole identity was being smart. But when she was in her teens she got into a car wreck and got some brain damage. She couldn't do as well as she used to, and everyone thought she wouldn't make it through school. She decided to continue on. You can imagine her extreme anxiety when she got into Harvard. I think it's Harvard. One of those Ivy Leagues, MBA program. And had to give a speech or presentation in front of everyone all the time. She felt that she didn't belong there. She felt like an imposter. etc etc. Well, her counselor told her to just act it. Act the character and fake it. She tried and tried, and realized that she not only faked it until she made it, but she became it, and found herself giving the same advice to her student later on. I think this applies to social anxiety situation. Just ignore it. Act it. Act the character until you become it. I had anxiety attacks so bad I literally pass out. Look, you really need to go see a licensed therapist who specializes in anxiety and complete a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, course. Everyone has different triggers and different levels of anxiety. Go see a therapist. Asking a bunch of people on ducking Reddit isn't going to even match the level of success you'll get from actually going to a therapist. The advice to fake confidence annoys me because I don't think you have to pretend to be someone you aren't. Faking this pretend confidence doesn't allow people to see your real personality. If I go somewhere, I go with someone I'm comfortable with. I avoid large groups. Small intimate settings are best for me. At first, I have one person I'm comfortable with. By the end of the social interaction maybe I have 2 or 3 more. The next time I do something I can go with all of them, and slowly creep out into a more social environment in a way that makes me feel comfortable and safe, and I don't have to compromise who I am. Being introverted is okay. You don't have to pretend to be an extrovert in order to fit in. When I was a child, I could not deal with people well. I was nervous interacting with them. Even sitting in a restaurant or fast food joint bothered me. I avoided situations where I would have to encounter or interact with others. When I was 18 or so, I began intentionally spending more time in places that I was uncomfortable in. My reasoning was that without exposure, I would never be comfortable anywhere but my house. Some of you may already know that what I did is a form of therapy called desensitization therapy. While I can still have moments of anxiety interacting with others, I feel that it is manageable now and not preventing me from enjoying my life. I wouldn't consider myself to have social anxiety. I have a broad spectrum of friends and I fare well in conversation, depending on my relationship with the person. But I have noticed that I pay close attention to other people's opinion of me. If it's outright negative, I deflect it. But if it's good, I accept it. I also become slightly introverted around strangers. You could see me goofing off and having a good time with friends, but being silent around strangers. I just accept myself and get along one day at a time. My main problem is that I feel like people are silently judging me when I'm out in public. It really calms me down to think yep, and there's nothing you can do about it. Over and over. Go out and try. You will fail miserably, but you will realize that failing isn't so bad after a couple of times. Now you can focus on learning from your mistakes and bettering yourself. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.